And with that, it's time for our next presentation as well. And the next presenter would actually be focusing more in terms of putting procurement in the driver's seat. Once again, we have with us Mr. Nilesh Gopali, who is the country head of Cloud by India. And he would, in fact, also be sharing about the convergence of procurement and e-commerce. He's played very pivotal roles for a number of global enterprises in terms of turning creative visions into viable business models. And this afternoon, he's with us. Back in the morning, he had welcomed you all with his thoughts as well as some words. But right now, it's going to be a very interesting presentation as well. So let's have a round of cheer. And let's welcome on stage our next presenter, Mr. Nilesh Gopali.
Excuse me, can someone help me with the presentation? Okay, I'll just... Hello everyone, can you hear me? Good. Afternoon session, especially after having a good lunch in an event when it's raining outside, and we all remember the good old days of tennis and bhajia and other things. It's quite difficult. So I'll keep it quite to the point and try and see if I can make it even more interesting than all the things that we hear about e-commerce. See, the reason I took this topic is convergence of procurement with e-commerce. What is it going? Where is it going? So I'll keep it short to only 4 or 5 questions, and then we can probably discuss, talk, and then pick it up from there. We all know that in India, e-commerce is on the rise. It's brilliant. I mean, I think as my last speaker said, post-2010, e-commerce is there everywhere. I mean, literally you pick up anywhere, any news, e-commerce is there. And it's rising. It's brilliant. So what is it that we are talking about? So my question is, how big is the size of the prize? So how big is e-commerce in India? There's numbers being thrown. We don't want to go into it. There's zillions of numbers being thrown. One thing what we know for sure is that e-commerce is big, and that's enough. It's phenomenally big. That's really good to know. What we need to understand is that there is a difference between business to consumer e-commerce and business to business e-commerce. So when I say business to business e-commerce, it involves your buying and selling, which is ultimately comes to your procurement. And one of the most important things that we need to understand is the user profiles. So what is it that happens in the B2B world, which is different from B2C world? B2B world, it's all about repeat orders, orders being placed on a credit. It involves your entire supply chain, right from manufacturing to an OEM, to a dealer, distributor, stockist, and then it finally goes to the consumer. So only the last leg, the consumer part, is what we are seeing the phenomenal growth in India. Thanks to Flipkart, Snapdeal, Amazon, we can see that there is a huge potential growth, and it's still the tip of the iceberg, especially in India, where English is a dominated language in terms of the consumer growth. Consumer side, we know that the users are less loyal, they have less of relationship. If you're getting anywhere, which is a couple of thousand rupees less, you'll probably jump to another side, you won't bother, and then you will move on. Our focus is on the B2B side, and that's where the whole thing is. But there is similarity. What is happening in the real world now is that since all of us, including us here, we all have got iPhones, we have got Samsungs, we have got good phones. We're using them to buy from all the good names. We want that to be translated in our office as well. So we want a consumer-like experience in our day-to-day procurement. Is that something that is happening? I don't know if that's happening or not. But what I'm trying to tell you is that the expectations from a consumer world or from a business world, it's same. Complications, yes, there's a sea change. So they are expecting the same thing like a consumer to a buyer, but what is it that we are looking from a supplier's perspective or a buyer's perspective in a procurement world or in a business to business? Suppliers are looking at systems which can help them do a rich content to their buyers, which makes it much easier. So for example, if Flipkart and Snapdeal can do much better look and feel, you feel like you're going there. Amazon, which is good, brilliant. Would you want that to be done in your own organizations? Yes, why not? Do the suppliers have something in terms of a content that they can create? I'm not sure. The technology is there, probably there. We'll have to pick it up. What is it that the buyers are looking for? And this is where the procurement world is there. So procurement world looks for not just the consumer look and feel. There are a lot of other things that we need to look at. You have your approvals, you have your credit, you have your entire gamut of processes and procedures which have to be followed and implemented as a part of your organization, including your own internal back office system, integration, ERPs, and those kind of aspects. So this is definitely required. And that is where the procurement world expects, along with a consumer-like experience. Where are we? Can we deliver? Can we make those things happen? We are all here to experience, and we will know more about it. So this is where I want to talk about what is happening in India, and then pick it up from there. So as I said, I will only rest my entire discussion of probably 15-20 minutes and try and see if I can keep you guys awake, is to linger around about 3 or 4 questions. One is e-commerce in India. We know it's big, it's growing, but it's only on the consumer side. There is an entire B2B side, and my few slides that covered that part. The second is the technology. Where is the technology going in India? Okay. I have lived in London 16 years. Moved back 2 years ago, lock, stock, and barrel, with my family, because the opportunity here in India is much bigger, much larger, much faster than back home in UK. And one of the driving force is the young generation. I don't know if you know the statistics, but I have worked with all of these statistics, but 65% of the Indian population is below the age of 35, and only 8% of the population is between the age of 35 and 43. So literally, I mean, in a figurative speech, we are saying that the country is run by 8% of the population, because that's the age between 35 and 43 is to run the country. So what is happening? The entire power is shifting to the young generation. The second thing that is happening is that technology is moving very fast. It's leapfrogging here. I mean, in 90s, we saw that pages took a couple of years here in India, and then they vanished. In US, and even in UK when I was there, we were still using pages, and we were giving pages to our warehouse guys, procurement guys, saying that when you get a message, please call, whilst India had moved on to a mobile technology. India users are very adaptive, very fast to move. They will pick on any new technology that comes on board, and they will try, and they will make use of it. We all know that Nokia became where it was, from entire manufacturing company to a mobile manufacturing world giant, obviously before iPhone took over, is because of the terrain. The environment in Finland was such that it was easier to buy a mobile phone than to have a landline. And similarly, it's happening here in India. The young generation is pushing the limit for technology. It's a competitive peer-to-peer pressure. Can you use it? Can you do it? I've done it, or I've done it, and those kind of things. So what is that is happening? I have met a head of an SCM, a small SME, who probably has got a turnover of about 30, 40 crores company, and the person does not know how to use a laptop and does not know how to use a PC, but is brilliant in iPad and iPhones. He doesn't even understand the concept of a cloud storage. So he told me that, oh, my iPhone was broken, and next day somehow my secretary got a new one, and imagine what, the entire data was there. He asked me only 3 questions. Aap e-commerce kar sakte ho? मेरा products बाहर बेच सकते हो? Fine, go and talk to my management guys. He said, so he takes a pride that management trainees are working with him. So these are the guys who are driving everything. So the technology is moving so fast because the users are moving fast. Now if I change that sentence, in India, the population, the young generation is moving very, very fast. The question is the technology coping up with them? It's not the other way around. Technology is not moving fast and we are trying to cope up. It's the other way around. We are thinking fast, adaptive, and is the technology coping up with it? What does that have an impact on every other technology aspect? So I'm just rephrasing this question is, we are moving fast and the technology has to cope up with this. What will this have an impact on the technology manufacturers and the systems that are coming out? This is where I lead to the third question is, what are we going to reinvent the technology? So the first one I spoke about e-commerce being big. Second one I'm talking about the fact that in India, technology is moving fast because we are moving fast. The third one I'm talking about is, should we be reinventing technology? What's the best way to actually have a technology which others have? Copy it. And everyone knows that by the time you copy, the guy who has done the original version comes up with something new. And this has become an yearly thing. So if you see, if you can copy iPhone 5, by the time you do it, iPhone 6 is there. And by the time you do iPhone 6, iPhone 7 is there. So things keep changing. Every year there's new upgrades. So technology has to move fast. Technology is modular. Yes, absolutely. You can use a bit of it or the maximum. You can do things. You have apps. You have mobile version. Technology can do things that you could not think of in the past. It changes the entire process. You don't need to do few things that you thought you would need to do probably just a couple of years ago. So how do you keep the technology